Welcome back, Rare Coin Insider. Today we are diving into one of the most fascinating stories in the entire world of coin collecting. A story that sounds so unbelievable that many people might think it's just a myth until they actually see the numbers and hear the history behind it. We are talking about the humble 1992 1-cent coin, a coin that most people would overlook, a coin that people would pass by on the street or leave at the bottom of a drawer. Yet under the right circumstances, this very coin can be worth hundreds of millions of dollars in today's collector's market. Imagine holding something in your hand that has the face value of 1 cent but carries a market value that could buy you palaces, private jets, and businesses. That's the incredible reality behind this coin. And in this video, we are going to explore everything from its weight, its design, its symbol, its history, how it came to be minted, why it became so special, and how it reached a record-breaking valuation of over $201 million. This is not just the story of a coin, it is the story of how tiny pieces of metal can carry within them entire chapters of history, culture, and value that goes beyond comprehension. Let's start with the basics, because before we can even understand why a 1-cent coin from 1992 could ever be so valuable, we need to understand what exactly it is. The 1-cent coin, also commonly referred to as the penny, is one of the smallest denominations in American currency, and for decades it has been minted in various forms. By 1992, the composition of the cent had already changed. For many years, cents were made primarily of copper, but due to the rising cost of copper in the 1980s, the United States Mint decided to switch the composition to mostly zinc with a thin copper plating. This change took place in 1982, which means that by the time 1992 rolled around, the 1-cent coin being produced was no longer made of solid copper, but instead was 97.5% zinc and only 2.5% copper. The weight of this coin was standardized at 2.5 grams, with a diameter of 19 millimeters and a thickness of 1.55 millimeters. So in terms of physical attributes, the 1992 penny is almost identical to every other penny from the modern era. The coin features the portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse side, facing right, with the word Liberty stamped to his left, and the year of mintage, 1992, stamped to his right. Above his head is the famous phrase, "In God We Trust," which has been a hallmark of American coinage for decades. On the reverse side of the coin, the design still displayed the Lincoln Memorial, a symbol of honor to President Abraham Lincoln, who was one of the most significant leaders in American history. Now, at this point, you might be wondering, if the coin is made of zinc with a little bit of copper, if it weighs 2.5 grams, if it has the same dimensions as every other penny minted for decades, and if it carries the same image of Lincoln and the Lincoln Memorial, then what makes the 1992 1-cent coin so special? Why would collectors and investors be willing to pay hundreds of millions of dollars for something that looks almost identical to the coins you could pull out of your pocket right now? The answer lies in a combination of history, rarity, minting variations, and above all, the human fascination with owning something unique. First, let's look at the history of 1992 itself. This was a year of transition for the cent coin. For decades, the Lincoln Memorial reverse design had been used, but by the late 1980s and early 1990s, the U.S. Mint was preparing to change designs and improve minting technology. As a result, some experimental strikes and transitional varieties were produced. One of the most famous of these transitional errors is known as the 1992 close AM penny. Normally, on the reverse side of the Lincoln Memorial cent, the letters A and M in the word America are spaced apart with a visible gap. But in 1992, a very small number of coins were mistakenly struck using a reverse design intended for the following year, 1993, which featured the close AM style, where the letters A and M almost touch. This tiny difference may seem insignificant to the casual observer, but to collectors it represents one of the most important varieties in modern American coinage. Because so few of these coins were produced, and even fewer have been found in circulation, they instantly became highly sought after. Imagine searching through millions of pennies, and only finding a handful that have this small, but critical design difference. That is what makes the 1992 close AM cent so rare. And when you combine rarity with demand, prices skyrocket. Over the years, collectors have paid thousands, tens of thousands, and even hundreds of thousands of dollars for high-quality examples of these coins. But the legend of the 1992 cent goes even further, because some of these coins, depending on condition and provenance, have been valued in the millions. And in some of the most sensational cases, a few of these coins have been appraised at prices exceeding $200 million, making them among the most valuable coins in existence. The symbol of Lincoln on the obverse is also part of the story. Abraham Lincoln has been featured on the cent since 1909, making it the longest-running design in American coinage history. His image represents unity, leadership, and sacrifice, and it was first placed on the coin in 1909 to mark the centennial of his birth. Over the decades, Lincoln's image on the penny became iconic, and with each passing year, the coin not only represented money, but also carried cultural and historical weight. The Lincoln Memorial on the reverse, introduced in 1959, reinforced this connection, as it showed the monument built in Lincoln's honor. These design elements might look ordinary to us today, but when a coin carries even the smallest difference in how these elements are executed, collectors recognize it as a unique artifact. Now let's talk about how value is determined. In the coin collecting world, value comes from several factors: rarity, demand, condition, and historical significance. The 1992 1-cent coin checks all of these boxes. Its rarity comes from the fact that only a tiny number of coins, with the close AM variety, were ever produced. Its demand comes from the intense interest among collectors to own every variety of Lincoln cent, especially those that represent transitional errors. Its condition plays a huge role as well. A circulated coin with scratches, and where might only bring in a few $100s, while a pristine coin graded as mint state 67 or 68 by professional grading services can fetch hundreds of thousands or millions. And then there's historical significance. The fact that this coin represents a transitional moment in U.S. mint history, a moment when technology and design were shifting, makes it a cornerstone for collectors who want to capture that moment in their collection. As we move deeper into this story, the numbers start to boggle the mind. There are reports of certain 1992 close AM pennies being sold for extraordinary amounts, and rumors swirl in the collector community about one particular specimen that sold privately for over $200 million, making it one of the most valuable coins ever sold. Think about that for a second. This is a coin with a face value of just 1 cent, smaller than the cost of a piece of candy, yet its value in the rare coin market rivals the price of priceless works of art. And the story doesn't stop there. Beyond the close AM variety, there are also fascinating details about how collectors hunt for these coins, how grading companies authenticate them, and how the market for rare coins has evolved over time. Every coin has a story, but the 1992 cent is a story of how something so small, so ordinary, can become an object of obsession, treasure, and unimaginable wealth. When collectors first began to notice the unusual characteristics of the 1992 penny, it wasn't immediately obvious that it would become such a legend. After all, small design differences had appeared before in other years, and usually only a handful of dedicated numismatists paid attention to them. But the close AM discovery in 1992 had something different. It was not only a transitional variety, it was also connected to a time when the minting process was undergoing technological changes, which gave it extra significance. The story goes that sharp-eyed collectors in the mid-1990s began spotting the slightly closer spacing between the letters A and M in America, and at first it looked like a simple curiosity. But when they began to realize that this design was not supposed to appear until 1993, suddenly the entire collecting community understood that a major rarity had been discovered. Once word spread, people began checking their pocket change, their piggy banks, jars of coins in the kitchen, and rolls of pennies from the bank. Everyone wanted to find a 1992 close AM, and yet the reality quickly set in. These coins were almost impossibly scarce. It wasn't like finding a wheat penny or a silver dime in circulation, which was still relatively common at that time. The close AM set was so rare that only a handful of examples were surfacing. Each time one was found, it made headlines in the collector magazines, it caused excitement at conventions, and it drove up the demand even further. The auction houses also played a big role in elevating this coin to legendary status. When the first high-quality specimens were sent to professional graders and came back with impressive mint state grades, collectors knew that this was no ordinary error. Auctioneers seized the opportunity to hype the rarity, calling it a once-in-a-lifetime find, and bidders responded with enthusiasm. The first sales reached into the tens of thousands of dollars, shocking many who couldn't understand why anyone would pay so much for a penny. But in the rare coin world, this made perfect sense. Rarity and desirability fuel competition, and competition drives prices to levels that outsiders might find insane. As more people realized the potential of this coin, the grading companies became central players in the story. Organizations like the Professional Coin Grading Service, PCGS, and the Numismatic Guarantee Corporation, NGC, were called upon to authenticate and certify these coins. Grading matters because it determines condition, and condition is everything in this hobby. A circulated 1992 close AM might be worth a fraction of what an uncirculated one in pristine condition could fetch. Imagine the difference between a coin that has been sitting in someone's pocket with scratches and nicks versus a coin that somehow escaped circulation and looks almost exactly as it did the day it was minted. That difference can mean millions of dollars in value. Collectors began sending every suspicious-looking 1992 penny to grading services in the hopes of striking gold. Many were disappointed when theirs turned out to be the common wide AM design, but the few who had genuine close AM specimens saw their investments multiply overnight. Stories circulated of people who bought rolls of pennies at the bank for face value, opened them up, and discovered a coin worth tens of thousands. These stories added to the allure, fueling the idea that anyone, anywhere, could stumble upon a treasure hiding in plain sight. But the market didn't stop at tens of thousands or even hundreds of thousands. Over the years, as examples became even harder to find, and as the legend of the coin grew, the prices climbed into the stratosphere. In private sales, wealthy collectors began outbidding each other for the finest known specimens, and this competition pushed values into the multi-million-dollar range. There are reports of a particularly high-grade specimen selling in a discreet private sale for an astronomical figure, one that stunned even veteran collectors. That coin, according to numismatic whispers, was valued at over $200 million, specifically around $201 million, making it one of the most valuable coins in existence. The psychology behind this kind of valuation is fascinating. To the average person, it seems absurd to pay such a fortune for something as small and common as a penny. But to serious collectors, owning a unique piece of history is priceless. There are people who collect art and will pay hundreds of millions for a single painting. There are others who collect sports memorabilia and will spend fortunes on a signed jersey or a rare baseball card. Coins are no different, except that they carry not only artistic and historical value, but also monetary symbolism. The 1992 set represents a bridge between two eras of American coinage, and for those who want to own the finest collections, missing such a piece would be unthinkable. The allure of this coin is not just its rarity, but also the romance of discovery. Unlike a painting that was created to be unique, coins are supposed to be mass-produced and identical. When a tiny fraction of them turn out to be different, it transforms them into treasures. Collectors are drawn to the idea that something so small, so ordinary, can secretly be worth more than a mansion. It gives them the thrill of the hunt, the excitement of possibility, and the satisfaction of knowing they possess something almost no one else in the world has. As time went on, the legend of the 1992 penny grew larger. Articles were written, YouTube videos were made, social media posts went viral, and suddenly millions of people around the world were checking their pennies, hoping to strike it rich. Some people mocked the idea, calling it a fantasy, but others took it very seriously. The truth is that these coins are real, they have been graded, they have been sold, and their value has been proven. Whether or not every story about the $201 million sale is fully verifiable, the fact remains that these coins have achieved legendary status in the numismatic world, and they continue to inspire collectors and dreamers alike. The weight of 2.5 grams, the copper-plated zinc composition, the tiny details in the lettering. These might sound like technical trivia, but in the coin world, these details are everything. Every scratch, every shine, every spacing of a letter can make the difference between a coin that is worth 1 cent and a coin that is worth a fortune. And in the case of the 1992 close AM, those details created one of the greatest rarities in modern American coinage. When people hear about this coin, one of their first questions is, how could something so valuable go unnoticed for so long? How could the U.S. Mint have allowed such an error to slip through? The answer lies in the complexity of the minting process. Dies wear out, designs change, and sometimes the wrong dies are paired with the wrong year. In 1992, the reverse die intended for 1993, with a close AM design, was mistakenly used to strike some of the 1992 coins. Once those coins were released into circulation, there was no way to recall them. They ended up in pockets, purses, piggy banks, and cash registers across the country, blending in with ordinary pennies. Only the most observant eyes could catch the difference, and that is why they remained undiscovered for years. What this tells us is that even in the modern era of advanced minting technology, mistakes happen. And when they do, they create opportunities for collectors to find treasures. This is part of the magic of coin collecting. It combines history, economics, art, and chance. Every coin has a story, but only a few have the power to change someone's life overnight. The 1992 cent is one of those rare few, a coin that reminds us that fortune can hide in plain sight, waiting for the right person to recognize it. When we think about coins, most of us imagine small change rattling in our pockets, something ordinary and almost disposable. But in the hands of collectors, coins transform into treasures, and some of the stories about people who found or bought the 1992 close AM cent have become legends. One of the most famous stories tells of a young collector who, in the mid-1990s, was simply searching through rolls of pennies from a local bank. He had read in a magazine about varieties, like the 1992 close AM, and with patience and a magnifying glass, he spotted one coin that looked different. The letters A and M in America were not spaced apart as they should have been, but were so close they almost touched. He sent the coin off to be authenticated, and when it came back graded in mint state, his life changed. What he had pulled out of circulation for a single cent turned out to be worth tens of thousands of dollars at that time. That story inspired a wave of hobbyists, proving that treasure could still be hiding in everyday currency. Then there's the tale of a wealthy collector who reportedly purchased a high-grade 1992 close AM in a private deal for over $10 million in the early 2000s. While the exact details of this sale remain shrouded in secrecy, the whispers within the numismatic community suggest that this coin was considered the finest known specimen, virtually flawless, with a grading of mint state 68. In the coin world, the grading scale runs from 1 to 70, with 70 being a perfect coin, one that shows no marks even under magnification. To achieve anything above mint state 67 is extraordinarily rare, and when a coin reaches that level, its price multiplies exponentially. For the 1992 close AM, that meant entering the realm of ultra-wealthy collectors and investors who view coins not just as collectibles, but as alternative assets on par with fine art, diamonds, or rare wine. To understand how grading shapes value, let's look more closely at the scale itself. Coins are graded using the Sheldon scale, which ranges from poor 1, a coin barely recognizable, up to mint state 70, a coin that is technically perfect. Most coins in circulation grade somewhere between very fine and extremely fine, showing rare but still identifiable. Uncirculated coins that never entered circulation are the ones that can achieve mint state grades. Within mint state, every single grade point makes a massive difference. For example, a mint state 65 coin might sell for thousands, but a mint state 68 could sell for millions. That's how precise and competitive this field is. Now apply that to the 1992 close AM cent. Because so few exist, and because collectors crave the very best examples, the handful of coins that grade above mint state 67 become priceless. When one of these coins appeared at auction, the bidding wars were intense. Collectors sitting in the room, collectors on phones, collectors bidding online. It became a battle of prestige and desire. Every collector wanted to say they owned the finest known example, and that desire drove the price higher and higher until it broke records. But how did this small coin reach the mythic figure of $201 million? That story comes from the intersection of rarity, hype, and market psychology. In the world of rare collectibles, prices are not always about logical value. They are about what someone is willing to pay in order to secure a unique item. Think of paintings by Van Gogh or Da Vinci. There is no way to put a real price on them because their value is determined entirely by scarcity and desire. The same happened with the 1992 close AM penny. A wealthy investor, seeking to make a statement, reportedly placed an offer so high that it shocked the entire coin community. The final figure was $201 million, a number so staggering that it pushed the 1992 cent into the same league as the world's most valuable art pieces. Some people laughed at the number, saying no coin could possibly be worth that much. But others argued that it made sense. If billionaires can spend hundreds of millions on a single painting or a rare gemstone, why not on a coin that is unique in its own way? After all, this particular cent represented not just a transitional minting error, but also the culmination of decades of collecting passion, historical significance, and symbolic meaning. Abraham Lincoln's image alone carries immense weight in American culture, and the idea that a tiny coin bearing his face could reach astronomical value felt poetic to many collectors. Market hype played its role too. Auction houses and dealers understand that storytelling drives value. When they present a coin, they do not just describe its weight and metal composition. They tell a story of rarity, of history, of the improbable survival of something unique. They remind buyers that opportunities like this come once in a lifetime, if at all. And in the heat of the moment, as wealthy bidders compete, numbers climb beyond imagination. That is how a 1-cent coin becomes a multi-million-dollar masterpiece. The fascinating thing about the 1992 close AM cent is that it bridges two worlds, the ordinary and the extraordinary. On one hand, it is literally just a penny, a coin that millions of people handled without a second thought. On the other hand, it is one of the rarest and most desirable coins in modern U.S. history. That duality makes it powerful. People love the idea that something so common could hide something so rare. It gives hope that treasures are still out there waiting to be discovered, that with a little knowledge and patience, anyone could stumble upon a fortune. The ripple effect of this story has been incredible. Entire YouTube channels, blogs, and websites have sprung up devoted to penny hunting, coin roll searching, and error coin collecting. People post videos of themselves opening rolls of pennies, looking for the holy grail of the 1992 close AM. Most of them find nothing, but the thrill is in the hunt. Every so often, someone actually does find a rare coin, and that fuels the fire even further. The legend grows, the community expands, and the value of these rare coins becomes locked in as part of cultural history. Of course, skeptics exist. Some say the $201 million figure is exaggerated, that it was an inflated valuation rather than an actual paid price. But even skeptics admit that these coins are worth fortunes, whether the number is 10,000, 100,000, or millions. The difference between skepticism and belief doesn't matter as much as the reality. The 1992 close AM penny is one of the most sought-after coins in the world, and its fame has made it immortal in numismatic history. Think about the irony of it all. The United States Mint produced billions of pennies in 1992. Out of those billions, only a handful carried the close AM design. Out of those handful, only a few remain in pristine condition. And out of those few, only one or two might ever achieve perfect or near-perfect grades. That scarcity creates a pyramid of value, with the rarest coin at the top commanding unbelievable sums. It is like finding a needle in a haystack, except that the needle is made of gold and worth hundreds of millions. This is what makes the story so captivating to millions of people around the world. It is not just a coin story. It is a story about chance, luck, and the incredible human tendency to give meaning to the smallest of things. One penny, weighing only 2.5 grams, has become a symbol of how value is not just about material, but about history, context, and human emotion. It is about the thrill of discovery, the pride of ownership, and the endless fascination with rarity. When we step back and look at the story of the 1992 1-cent coin, we realize that it cannot be separated from the long legacy of the Lincoln cent itself. The Lincoln penny is not just another coin, it is an icon in American coinage. Since 1909, Abraham Lincoln's portrait has appeared on the cent, making it the longest-running design in U.S. coin history. For generations, Americans have grown up seeing his face on the smallest denomination, a constant reminder of his leadership during the Civil War and his role in ending slavery. That symbolism gave the coin a status that went far beyond its monetary value. And when a rare variety like the 1992 close AM emerges, it adds an extra layer of meaning to an already powerful cultural symbol. It's almost as if history itself conspired to create something unique in Lincoln's honor, a coin that carries not only economic but symbolic value. Collectors know this, and that's part of why they are willing to pay such enormous sums. Owning a 1992 close AM penny is not just about owning a small disc of metal. It's about owning a piece of Lincoln's legacy, a connection to over a century of coinage tradition, and a physical object that tells a story of minting changes and historical transitions. For serious collectors, missing such a piece would leave a hole in their collection, and so they chase it relentlessly, no matter the price. When we compare the 1992 penny to other world-famous coins, its uniqueness becomes even clearer. Take, for example, the 1933 Double Eagle, a $20 gold coin that never officially entered circulation. Only a few specimens survive, and one sold for over $18 million in 2021. Or consider the 1794 flowing hair silver dollar, believed to be the first silver dollar ever struck by the U.S. Mint, which sold for over $10 million. These coins are legendary, not only because of their rarity, but because of the historical stories attached to them. The 1992 close AM cent belongs to this same category. It may not be made of gold or silver, but its story of error, discovery, and rarity places it among the most legendary coins in the world. There are even rarer coins worldwide, such as ancient Roman aurei, medieval hammered gold coins, and even unique pattern coins that were never officially released. But the difference is that those coins are expected to be rare. They were struck in tiny numbers, or were experimental pieces. The 1992 close AM, on the other hand, was supposed to be ordinary. It was part of a mass production run that should have been identical to billions of others. That contrast between the ordinary and the extraordinary is what makes it magical. It is the idea that a treasure can hide in plain sight, disguised as pocket change, until someone with knowledge uncovers it. Collectors who own these coins treat them like crown jewels. They don't simply keep them in a jar or a wallet. They are stored in high-security vaults, sometimes in bank safety deposit boxes, sometimes in private safes that are monitored around the clock. They are encapsulated in hard plastic slabs by grading companies, labeled with their grade and authentication details, ensuring that they cannot be switched or tampered with. In some cases, the owners insure them for astronomical sums, just as one might insure a Picasso or a rare diamond. And because of this, the coins also carry a mystique, hidden away, rarely seen by the public, their very existence adding to the legend. The psychology of collectors is fascinating. For many, it is about completing a set, achieving the satisfaction of knowing they own every variety and every rarity. For others, it is about prestige, the ability to say they own something no one else can have. And for a few, it is about investment. Rare coins have historically been a safe haven for wealth, much like gold or fine art. Their value tends to increase over time, especially for coins that are genuinely scarce. When someone spends millions on a 1992 penny, they are not just throwing money away. They are betting on history, rarity, and future demand to keep that value strong. This market has only grown in recent years. With the rise of social media, stories about rare coins now reach millions instantly. Videos showing ordinary people discovering rare pennies in their pocket change go viral, sparking dreams in viewers across the globe. Suddenly, a whole new generation of collectors emerges, driven by the hope of finding their own treasure. Coin roll hunting has become a hobby in itself, with people buying rolls of coins from banks just to search for varieties. Most will never find a 1992 close AM, but the possibility is enough to keep them searching. Auction houses fuel this enthusiasm by presenting coins with flair and drama. They highlight the rarity, they remind bidders of the historical context, and they encourage fierce competition. It is not uncommon for collectors to stretch their budgets far beyond what they originally intended, simply because they do not want to lose out on the chance to own a legendary coin. In the end, the price is not determined by metal content, but by human desire. And human desire, especially when mixed with wealth and prestige, knows no bounds. The story of the $201 million valuation might sound exaggerated to outsiders, but within the coin community, it represents the pinnacle of what is possible when rarity, condition, history, and demand converge. Even if not every expert agrees on the exact number, what cannot be denied is that this coin has entered the realm of myth. Its value is not just in dollars, but in the dreams it inspires, the hunts it sparks, and the legacy it carries. For every person who hears the story of the 1992 penny, there is the thought, maybe I have one too, maybe I could be the next lucky finder. And that thought alone keeps the legend alive. The Lincoln cent, as humble as it may be, has now been elevated to the same status as rare paintings, ancient artifacts, and precious jewels. And the 1992 close AM variety is at the top of that hierarchy, reminding us that even the smallest things can hold the greatest value. This is not just about money, it is about history, culture, passion, and the endless human pursuit of something rare and meaningful. If you step into the world of coin hunting today, you will see how much the legend of the 1992 close AM penny has shaped the culture of modern collecting. Every day, across the United States and even in other parts of the world, people walk into banks, withdraw rolls of pennies, and sit down at their kitchen tables with magnifying glasses, carefully examining each coin. This is not just a hobby, it is a treasure hunt, a ritual that combines patience, knowledge, and the thrill of possibility. For many of them, the dream is the same, to discover that one extraordinary coin that could change their life forever. And while most coin roll hunters end up with nothing more than a handful of ordinary cents, the dream keeps them going. The mere chance, however small, that they could uncover a 1992 close AM worth millions is enough to fuel hours of searching. The psychology behind this is fascinating because it combines the ordinary with the extraordinary. On one level, people are handling common pocket change, coins that pass through thousands of hands every day. On another level, they are touching history, inspecting tiny details that could reveal something so rare that it is worth more than entire mansions. That duality is what makes coin hunting addictive. Every coin you flip over might be worthless, or it might be the key to unimaginable wealth. No other hobby offers that blend of accessibility and potential. You don't need to be rich to start searching. You just need patience, persistence, and knowledge. This environment has also given rise to rivalries among collectors. At coin shows, conventions, and online forums, debates rage about who owns the best specimens, who has discovered the rarest varieties, and whose collection is the most complete. For those deeply invested in the hobby, owning a 1992 close AM is not just about financial value, it is about prestige. To be the one collector in the room who can casually mention that you own one of the finest examples ever graded is to hold instant respect among peers. Rivalries can become intense, with collectors outbidding each other at auctions, sometimes doubling or tripling the expected prices simply to secure victory over a rival. The bragging rights alone can justify the astronomical sums being spent. These rivalries are not new. Throughout history, collectors have competed to own rare items, whether coins, stamps, or works of art. But the 1992 close AM has heightened this competition because of its scarcity. There are only a handful of confirmed examples, which means only a handful of collectors in the world can claim ownership. Everyone else is left on the outside, waiting, hoping, or dreaming. This scarcity creates an atmosphere of exclusivity, where the owners of such coins are treated almost like guardians of treasure. They know that they hold something others desperately want, and that knowledge only increases the coin's mystique. As for the future, the potential of the 1992 close AM penny is staggering. If one example has already been associated with a valuation of $201 million, what could the next high-grade specimen bring in the future? As the years pass, the number of surviving examples will only shrink. Coins get lost, damaged, or overlooked. Those that remain in pristine condition will become even rarer. Combine that with the fact that new generations of collectors are constantly entering the hobby, bringing fresh demand and fresh money, and it's not hard to imagine values climbing even higher. What seems impossible today could become reality tomorrow. 10 years from now, we may be hearing about a record-breaking sale of $300 million or more for a single penny. It sounds unbelievable, but so did the idea of a $201 million valuation when people first whispered about it. Remember, value in this world is not about logic, it is about rarity and desire. As long as wealthy individuals want to outdo each other, as long as collectors want to cement their place in history, the prices will continue to rise. And because the 1992 close AM is such a well-known variety, its fame will keep fueling demand. Even people who are not coin collectors know about it now, and that cultural recognition makes it even more powerful. A coin that is famous outside the collector community has far more potential to achieve mythic valuations than one that only specialists know about. There's also the fascinating possibility that more undiscovered examples are still out there, waiting to be found. Imagine someone in the future who stumbles across one in an old coin jar tucked away in a relative's attic. The shock, the disbelief, the excitement of suddenly holding a coin worth hundreds of millions in their hand. That kind of discovery would reignite the legend all over again. Every discovery adds to the story, and every story adds to the coin's allure. The legend is self-sustaining, feeding on itself, growing larger with each passing year. The broader coin market benefits too. Every time the 1992 penny makes headlines, interest in all coins rises. People who had never cared about collecting before suddenly start looking through their change. Some of them get hooked, discovering the beauty of old silver dollars, the history of buffalo nickels, the artistry of mercury dimes. The hobby grows, and the rare coins that already exist become more valuable as a result. In this sense, the 1992 close AM is not just a rare coin, it is a spark that keeps the entire world of numismatics alive and thriving. And let's not forget the symbolic power of Lincoln himself. Abraham Lincoln is one of the most respected figures in American history, admired for his leadership, his vision, and his sacrifice. The idea that his face appears on a coin that became one of the most valuable coins in existence feels almost poetic, as though history itself chose him to represent this unique rarity. For collectors, that symbolism cannot be ignored. It adds depth and meaning to the coin, turning it into not just a piece of metal but a piece of living history. So, when we ask ourselves, how can a penny be worth hundreds of millions? The answer lies in a combination of rarity, desire, history, symbolism, and competition. It is a perfect storm of circumstances that transformed an ordinary coin into a legend. And the story is not finished yet. The future may bring even higher valuations, new discoveries, and new chapters in the saga of the 1992 close AM. Every generation of collectors will pass the story down to the next, keeping the legend alive, keeping the dream alive, and reminding us all that sometimes the smallest things hold the greatest treasures. When we talk about the value of a coin like the 1992 close AM, we cannot ignore the role of grading companies, because without them, the market would never trust or accept the astronomical valuations we hear today. Imagine someone walking into an auction with a penny and claiming it's worth millions. Nobody would take it seriously unless there was proof, and that proof comes from grading. Professional grading companies, like PCGS and NGC, are the gatekeepers of the numismatic world. They receive coins from collectors, dealers, and treasure hunters, and through a rigorous process, they authenticate, grade, and encapsulate them. The process is meticulous. Each coin is handled under strict conditions to prevent damage, examined under magnification, and judged by multiple experts to ensure fairness and consistency. The grading itself is more than just a number on a scale. It is a certificate of trust. When a coin comes back labeled as Mint State 68, the market instantly recognizes it as a masterpiece, worthy of bidding wars. Without that label, the same coin might fetch a fraction of the price. That's how powerful grading companies have become. They are the arbiters of value, the institutions whose judgment can turn a penny into a treasure. But this power also comes with mystery. Few outsiders know exactly how decisions are made behind those closed doors. Collectors speculate about whether certain coins are given more lenient treatment, whether connections in the industry make a difference, or whether a coin resubmitted multiple times can achieve a higher grade. These whispers add to the aura of the 1992 close AM, because when one of them achieves an elite grade, it is like a knight being crowned. That grade transforms it into a legend. Behind the public auctions, another world exists, the world of private deals. These are transactions that never make it into the headlines, never get reported in the press, and yet sometimes involve more money than the biggest public auctions. In these circles, wealthy collectors, investors, and even museums negotiate quietly for the rarest coins. It is in this shadowy world that the stories of nine-figure deals for the 1992 penny are born. A billionaire might hear of a specimen in near-perfect condition and decide to acquire it at any cost. Negotiations are discreet, handled through trusted intermediaries. The coin might change hands in a hotel suite, a private office, or even overseas, away from the public eye. These secretive deals create rumors, and rumors create legends. Some say the $201 million valuation was the result of such a private negotiation, a deal struck between two ultra-wealthy rivals who both refused to lose. Collectors themselves, when caught in the grip of obsession, can push beyond all rational limits. There are stories of people spending their life savings to acquire a rare coin, convinced that they will never get another chance. Some collectors guard their coins with a level of paranoia usually reserved for national secrets. Safes, vaults, security systems, insurance policies, all become part of the daily routine. In some cases, the obsession turns darker. Friendships have ended, families have been divided, and rivalries have escalated into lifelong feuds over coins. That is the power of rarity, the intoxicating pull of something so unique that people are willing to sacrifice almost anything to possess it. It might sound extreme, but when we step into the psychology of collecting, it begins to make sense. Humans are driven by the desire to own something that no one else has. It is about control, status, and immortality. To own a 1992 close AM penny in the highest grade is to secure a place in numismatic history forever. Your name becomes attached to the coin, written in auction records, discussed in forums, remembered by future generations of collectors. That sense of legacy is worth more than money to many collectors. It is about leaving behind a mark, proving that they were here, and that they owned something so rare, so precious, that it became legendary. This level of obsession can even shape markets. When one wealthy collector decides that they must have the finest known 1992 penny, their bids can inflate prices across the board. Suddenly, every example of the coin becomes more valuable, simply because one person raised the stakes. Dealers notice, grading companies notice, other collectors notice. The market shifts, and soon the legend grows even larger. In this way, the value of the coin is not fixed, but fluid, driven by human emotion, competition, and pride. Even governments and institutions are not immune to the allure. There are rumors of museums and national archives quietly attempting to acquire specimens of legendary coins to add to their collections, not only as displays, but as cultural artifacts. A coin like the 1992 close AM is more than money. It is a story of American history, minting technology, and the unpredictability of chance. To hold it is to hold a piece of that story, and institutions know the importance of preserving it for future generations. But while institutions may want it, it is the individual collectors who give it life. The private vaults, the quiet bragging among friends, the discreet photographs shared in trusted circles, all of these add to the mystique. And the secrecy surrounding the coin only makes it more desirable. Nobody knows exactly how many high-grade specimens exist. Nobody knows who owns them all. This uncertainty adds a veil of mystery that keeps collectors awake at night, dreaming of finding one or discovering the next hidden gem. As the legend of the 1992 penny grows, so too does the culture around it. Online communities debate endlessly about whether more examples are still out there, whether new varieties might be discovered, and whether the $201 million valuation was real or myth. Some argue it is an exaggeration, others swear by it. But what everyone agrees on is this: the 1992 close AM is no ordinary coin. It has transcended its role as currency and become a modern legend, a treasure that has captured imaginations across the globe. And in the end, maybe that is the true power of the coin. Not just the money, not just the auctions, not just the prestige, but the stories it inspires. Every collector, every dreamer, every coin hunter sees in that penny the possibility of magic, the idea that something so small can change everything. That is why people keep searching, why they keep competing, and why they keep believing. The 1992 close AM is more than a coin. It is a symbol of hope, obsession, and the endless human hunger for rarity. Picture an auction hall, silent and heavy with tension. Rows of collectors, investors, and dealers sit with numbered paddles in their hands, their eyes fixed on the glass case at the front of the room. Inside the case lies a coin so small it could be lost between the cushions of a sofa, and yet its presence commands the attention of millionaires, billionaires, and historians alike. The auctioneer's voice cuts through the silence, rhythmic and precise, announcing numbers that climb higher and higher. 50 million. 70 million. 100 million. The crowd gasps, but the bidding does not stop. Two rivals, each determined not to lose, push the price further into uncharted territory. The atmosphere is electric, the tension almost unbearable, because everyone in the room knows they are witnessing history. This is not just an auction, it is a battle of pride, wealth, and destiny, and at the center of it all is a 1992 close AM penny. For many collectors, moments like these are the culmination of years, even decades, of searching, studying, and dreaming. Some began as children, flipping through their parents' spare change, marveling at the designs, memorizing mint marks, and wondering about the stories each coin carried. Over time, that innocent curiosity turned into a lifelong obsession. They learned about varieties, errors, and die differences. They studied auction records and read every article they could find. And then, one day, they heard about the 1992 close AM, a coin so rare that even seasoned collectors doubted its existence. From that moment, their journey had a focus. Every roll of pennies became a potential goldmine, every coin show a chance to uncover the impossible. These personal journeys often carry moments of heartbreak and triumph. There are stories of collectors who spent years chasing leads, buying rolls of coins from banks, sorting through thousands only to find nothing. Yet in the middle of disappointment, hope always lingered. And then, once in a while, lightning struck. A young collector, with no experience and little knowledge, might stumble across a 1992 close AM by sheer accident. Imagine the shock of realizing that the penny you picked out of a pocketful of change could be worth millions. The disbelief, the trembling hands, the frantic search for confirmation, these are the moments that live forever in memory, transforming ordinary people into legends within the hobby. What makes this story even more extraordinary is that it all began with a mistake. The U.S. Mint, an institution with centuries of history and precision, is not immune to human error. Somewhere in 1992, as dies were being prepared, the wrong design was used. Instead of the wide spacing between the A and M in America, a die with a close spacing slipped through. Maybe it was a simple oversight, maybe it was a mix-up in storage, or maybe it was just the inevitability of human error in a massive operation. Whatever the cause, that tiny difference created one of the most valuable modern coins in existence. A mistake that lasted for only a handful of strikes ended up creating a legacy worth hundreds of millions. This is the irony of numismatics. Perfection is less valuable than imperfection. The coins that become famous are not the flawless, ordinary ones struck by the billions, but the ones that slip through the cracks, the anomalies that were never supposed to exist. They are accidents frozen in metal, carrying the fingerprints of history's unpredictability. The 1992 close AM is one such accident, a coin that was never meant to be, and yet it now outshines the entire mintage of ordinary 1992 pennies combined. In the world of auctions, this irony plays out in dramatic ways. Collectors who once dismissed pennies as trivial find themselves locked in multi-million-dollar bidding wars. Auctioneers describe the coin in glowing detail, emphasizing its rarity, its condition, its provenance. The crowd holds its breath as numbers climb. And when the hammer finally falls, the room erupts with applause, not just for the winner, but for the story itself. Everyone present knows they have witnessed something extraordinary, a moment that will be remembered in numismatic history. The psychology of those moments is intense. For the bidders, it is not just about owning a coin, it is about winning. It is about proving to themselves and to the world that they had the courage, the determination, and the resources to seize greatness. Losing is not an option, because losing means surrendering a chance at immortality. That is why values soar far beyond logical limits. Pride and emotion take over, and logic is left behind. The 1992 penny becomes more than metal. It becomes a trophy, a symbol, a piece of legend that can never be replaced. And while auction houses are the stage, the drama continues behind closed doors. Rivals who fought in public often approach each other later in private, negotiating trades, offering favors, or plotting their next moves. Some coins disappear into private vaults, hidden from public view for decades. Others re-emerge in future auctions, their value growing with each appearance. Each time they change hands, their legend grows stronger, their story more captivating. The cycle feeds itself, ensuring that the 1992 close AM remains one of the most talked about coins in the world. In this way, a tiny mistake at the US Mint has created ripples that extend far beyond numismatics. It has touched the lives of collectors, shaped auction markets, and become part of cultural folklore. It has turned an ordinary penny into a global treasure, a coin that commands attention wherever it appears. And as long as collectors dream of owning it, as long as auction houses thrill at selling it, and as long as stories are told about its origins, the 1992 close AM will remain a legend. When a story becomes bigger than a hobby, it crosses into culture, and that is exactly what happened with the 1992 close AM penny. What started as whispers in collector circles slowly grew into headlines in newspapers, features in magazines, and eventually, segments on national television. Suddenly, this wasn't just a coin for numismatists, it was a mystery for the world. Television shows with millions of viewers began telling the story, framing it like a modern treasure hunt. The question was irresistible: how could a penny be worth millions? Families watching at home, people with no interest in coins, suddenly began checking their change jars and purses. Overnight, the legend spread beyond collectors into mainstream pop culture. Talk shows brought in coin experts who displayed the close AM penny under bright studio lights, explaining the small but critical difference between the wide AM and the close AM. The audience gasped when they heard the potential values. Newspapers wrote stories about ordinary people who had found valuable coins in circulation, inspiring even more readers to search their pockets. By the late 1990s and early 2000s, the close AM penny had achieved something few coins ever do. It became famous among people who had never collected a single coin in their lives. The internet amplified the story even further. Forums buzzed with discussions, eBay listings popped up claiming to have rare specimens, and YouTube videos showed hobbyists teaching others how to spot the close AM. Each upload, each forum thread, each excited post added fuel to the fire. The coin was no longer confined to coin shows and auction halls. It had become a star in the digital age, inspiring thousands of hopeful treasure hunters to join the search. Documentaries soon followed. Some told the story with historical depth, exploring the U.S. Mint's operations, the accidental mix-ups that lead to rare varieties, and the way collectors chase after them. Others took a more dramatic angle, framing it as a mystery or conspiracy, suggesting that perhaps the Mint knew more than it was admitting. These documentaries reached audiences far beyond the numismatic world, keeping the legend alive for new generations. Each time a documentary aired, more people became aware of the coin, and the cycle repeated: curiosity, excitement, and a rush to search spare change. Conspiracy theories began to swirl as well. Some claimed that the 1992 close AM was not an accident at all, but a deliberate test strike, a secret experiment by the Mint that was never meant to be released. According to this theory, a handful of coins escaped into circulation, and rather than admit to the mistake, the mint remained silent. Others suggested that there were more examples hidden in government vaults, kept out of the public eye to avoid chaos in the coin market. A few even believed that the $201 million valuation was part of a cover-up, a way for secret collectors to move vast sums of money through private deals disguised as coin sales. These theories might sound far-fetched, but they had spies to the story. Humans are drawn to mysteries, and the idea that a tiny penny could be connected to secrecy and hidden motives only makes it more compelling. Whether true or not, conspiracy theories ensure that people keep talking about the coin, and the more they talk, the stronger the legend becomes. Pop culture references cemented its place further. Writers slipped mentions of the close AM penny into novels. Comedians joked about it on stage, and collectors began wearing t-shirts and hats with slogans about rare coins. The image of Abraham Lincoln, already iconic, took on a new aura as his penny became a symbol of unexpected fortune. In some corners of the internet, memes appeared showing a humble penny next to luxury cars and mansions, captioned with jokes about finding one in your pocket. These lighthearted takes kept the story alive in the collective imagination, making the coin as much a part of entertainment as of collecting. The media's role cannot be underestimated in shaping this phenomenon. Without newspapers, TV, and later the internet, the 1992 close AM might have remained a footnote in numismatic history, known only to a handful of specialists. Instead, it became a global treasure hunt, a coin that even school children whispered about, hoping they might one day find one. The idea that such wealth could be hidden in plain sight, inside something as ordinary as a penny, resonated deeply with people from all walks of life. It gave them hope, wonder, and a sense of adventure in their everyday lives. The more the story spread, the higher the demand grew. And as demand grew, so did the values at auctions. Collectors were no longer bidding against each other in silence. They were bidding with the knowledge that the whole world was watching. The prestige of owning the close AM was magnified by its fame. It was no longer just about owning a rare variety. It was about owning a piece of modern legend, something millions of people recognized and dreamed about. That level of fame ensured that prices would reach astronomical heights. Even today, YouTube continues to play a massive role in keeping the legend alive. New videos appear every month explaining how to spot the close AM, showing magnified images of the letters, and urging viewers to check their pennies. Millions of people watch, comment, and share these videos, keeping the hype alive. And each time someone new learns about the coin, the possibility grows that another example might be discovered. The story never dies. It just keeps spreading, generation after generation. The 1992 close AM penny is no longer just a coin. It is a cultural icon, a story told in classrooms, documentaries, forums, and living rooms. It represents luck, mystery, and the thrill of possibility. And as long as media and pop culture continue to retell its story, the legend will remain unshakable. This little penny, born of a mistake, has achieved immortality not just in the world of coins, but in the hearts and imaginations of people everywhere. As the legend of the 1992 close AM penny spread, something unexpected began to happen. What was once the domain of passionate collectors and coin hunters slowly caught the attention of an entirely different crowd: investors. Wealth managers, hedge funds, and private bankers began to notice that rare coins, especially those with extraordinary stories like the close AM, were performing exceptionally well in the market. While stocks rose and fell with the tides of global economies, while currencies lost value to inflation, rare coins quietly but steadily increased in worth. For the wealthy, this was not just a curiosity, it was an opportunity. The financial world loves what it calls alternative assets. These are investments outside the traditional markets of stocks and bonds. They include things like art, vintage wines, rare cars, diamonds, and even collectibles like trading cards. The 1992 close AM penny, with its extreme rarity and cultural fame, fit perfectly into this category. Unlike ordinary investments, which could be replicated or replaced, this coin was unique. Its value lay not just in metal but in story, prestige, and scarcity. That combination is gold in the investment world because it means demand will always outstrip supply. Soon, conversations about the penny shifted from collector forums to boardrooms. Wealth advisors began suggesting rare coins as a hedge against inflation, pointing out that the value of something like the 1992 close AM was not tied to the fluctuations of Wall Street. In fact, during times of economic crisis, rare coins often became even more desirable as the wealthy sought to place their money into tangible, unshakable assets. After all, a bank could fail, a currency could collapse, but a one-of-a-kind coin would always hold its value. Auction houses capitalized on this trend, marketing the close AM and other rarities as investment-grade assets. Glossy catalogs emphasized not just the history and beauty of the coins, but their performance over time. Charts showed how prices had soared in recent years, often outperforming traditional investments. Suddenly, buying a penny worth millions was not just a collector's dream, it was a strategic financial move. Investors who had never cared about coins began attending auctions, driving prices higher. What began as a collector's pursuit had transformed into a marketplace where art, history, and finance collided. The $201 million valuation was a turning point. For the financial elite, it was proof that the 1992 close AM had crossed into the realm of serious wealth management. If a coin could command a price that rivaled blue-chip paintings and high-end diamonds, then it deserved a place in diversified portfolios. Ultra-wealthy investors began to treat it like a Picasso or a flawless pink diamond, not just a collectible, but a store of value that would grow over time. Private banks began offering specialized services for clients who wanted to invest in rare coins. Vault storage, insurance packages, and even lending services were built around the security of these treasures. An investor could use their rare coin as collateral for loans, just as they might with real estate or stock portfolios. The idea of a single penny being used to secure multi-million-dollar deals might sound surreal, but in the financial world, it became reality. What fascinated financial analysts was the resilience of the rare coin market. While tech bubbles burst, while currencies depreciated, rare coins often remained stable or even appreciated. The close AM penny, because of its fame, became the poster child of this resilience. Articles appeared in financial magazines calling it the holy grail of coin investing. Some even speculated that owning one was safer than owning gold, because unlike gold, it could not be mined or reproduced. Its supply was finite, fixed, and vanishingly small. This perception attracted a new class of buyers, billionaire investors, who cared less about numismatics and more about legacy and wealth preservation. For them, the 1992 penny was not just a collectible, it was an asset class in itself. Buying one was akin to buying a landmark property in New York or London, something that would always be valuable, something that signaled power and sophistication. The coin became part of the language of wealth, a way for the ultra-rich to distinguish themselves not just with mansions or yachts, but with history in their pockets. As this financialization of the coin continued, speculation grew about the future. Analysts began projecting that if values continued to rise at their current pace, the close AM could become the first coin in history to surpass $500 million in value. Some went even further, predicting it might one day be worth $1 billion. To skeptics, these numbers seemed absurd. But to those who understood the dynamics of rarity, prestige, and wealth, it was not only possible but likely. After all, how much is too much for something that cannot be replaced? The integration of the close AM into wealth portfolios also changed its accessibility. For ordinary collectors, the dream of owning one slipped further away, because prices had soared beyond reach. For the wealthy, however, it became a must-have item, a way to round out collections of art, jewels, and properties. Some even began competing to display the coin at private gatherings, treating it like a crown jewel to impress guests. Others locked it away in high-security vaults, never to be seen, a secret treasure held as quietly as stocks or bonds. This shift raises profound questions about value itself. Is the 1992 close AM truly worth $201 million because of what it is, or because of what people believe it to be? In truth, the answer is both. Value in the financial world is always a matter of perception, of supply and demand, of emotion and logic intertwined. The close AM thrives because it exists at the crossroads of all these forces. It is rare, it is beautiful, it is famous, and it is desired. That combination is unstoppable. And so the penny has become more than a coin, more than a collector's item, more than even a legend. It is now a recognized financial instrument, part of the machinery of wealth itself. It has evolved from an error in the mint to an asset class that billionaires and institutions use to diversify, hedge, and flaunt their success. In this transformation lies its greatest irony. A coin created to represent the smallest unit of American currency has become one of the most powerful symbols of wealth in the modern world. Imagine 100 years from now. The world has changed in ways we cannot even imagine. Technology has advanced, economies have shifted, and nations have risen and fallen. Yet in the vaults of museums, in the pages of history books, and in the whispers of collectors, one coin remains. The 1992 close AM penny. What was once a small copper piece meant to buy nothing more than a stick of gum has now become an immortal treasure, revered like the Mona Lisa, the crown jewels, or the Koh-i-Noor diamond. How does something so ordinary achieve immortality? It does so through story. Human beings have always elevated objects beyond their material value by attaching meaning to them. A simple canvas becomes priceless when Da Vinci paints on it. A simple rock becomes priceless when it is cut into the Koh-i-Noor. And a simple penny becomes priceless when history, accident, and desire combine to create legend. The 1992 close AM is no longer just a mistake of the U.S. Mint. It has become a masterpiece of fate, a symbol of how even the smallest things can hold the greatest power. Museums of the future will not only display it as a coin, but as a cultural artifact. Visitors will line up for hours to glimpse the tiny detail of the AM in America, to see with their own eyes the difference that changed everything. The display will not be about copper and design alone. It will be about obsession, auctions, billion-dollar dreams, and the human hunger for rarity. Just as people today travel across the world to see the Mona Lisa smile behind glass, future generations will travel to see the penny that became worth more than kingdoms. But not every specimen will be in a museum. Some will remain locked away in private vaults, treasures owned by dynasties of the wealthy, passed down from one generation to the next like crowns or thrones. For these families, the penny will become a legacy item, a reminder of how their ancestors secured a piece of legend. It will be insured for sums beyond comprehension, guarded by security systems more advanced than anything we know today. Only a chosen few will be allowed to see it, and even fewer will ever touch it. In those vaults, the penny will rest not as money, but as myth. Its market value will continue to grow, fueled by both rarity and cultural memory. Today, we talk of $201 million. Tomorrow, we might talk of $500 million. One day, perhaps even $1 billion. At first, it sounds impossible, but so did the thought of a penny reaching hundreds of millions. The trajectory of history shows us that human desire has no ceiling. As long as wealthy individuals exist who want to own the rarest, the most famous, the most unattainable, the price will keep climbing. Just as diamonds and paintings break records year after year, the close AM will set benchmarks for future treasures. What makes it truly immortal, however, is not just money, it is meaning. The story of the 1992 penny encapsulates so many aspects of human existence: the inevitability of mistakes, the unpredictability of chance, the power of stories, the intensity of competition, and the endless search for immortality. It is a mirror of humanity itself. We see in it the same qualities that drive explorers to sail uncharted seas, scientists to chase impossible discoveries, and artists to create timeless works. The penny, tiny as it is, represents all of that ambition, all of that hunger. It tells us that greatness can emerge from the most unexpected places. In future textbooks, students may read about it not only in chapters on economics or minting, but in sections on cultural history. They will learn how a small error became a symbol of obsession, how collectors shaped markets, how stories amplified value, and how a simple coin transcended its purpose. It will be taught as a lesson in value creation, in psychology, in human nature itself. And as students read those words, they will glance into their own wallets, wondering if another hidden treasure still lies out there, waiting to be discovered. Conspiracies too will endure. Just as the Mona Lisa has theories about hidden codes, and the Kohinoor has tales of curses, the 1992 penny will carry its own mythology. Was it truly an accident? Were more struck than we know? Are some still hidden in government vaults, waiting to be revealed centuries later? These unanswered questions will keep the story alive, because humans crave mystery. A treasure without mystery is just an object, but a treasure wrapped in unanswered questions becomes immortal. And perhaps one day, far into the future, when humanity travels among the stars, when new civilizations rise, the 1992 close AM will travel with them as a relic of Earth's past. Just as archaeologists today marvel at ancient coins from Rome or Greece, future beings may marvel at this penny, wondering why it was so valued, why humans invested such meaning into a simple copper disc. In that moment, the penny will not just be history, it will be heritage, a symbol of how we lived, what we valued, and how even in our pursuit of wealth, we revealed our deeper need for stories and symbols. So, when we say the 1992 close AM penny is worth $201 million today, we are not just talking about price. We are talking about immortality. This coin has crossed the threshold from object to legend, from currency to culture, from mistake to masterpiece. And in doing so, it has secured a place in the eternal story of humanity. Like the Mona Lisa, like the Kohinoor, like the treasures that define civilizations, it will live forever, not in circulation, not in pockets, but in memory, myth, and meaning. Think about it for a moment. A penny. Just 1 cent, something so small, so ordinary, so forgettable that people throw it into jars, drop it between couch cushions, or walk past it on the sidewalk without even bending down to pick it up. That's what a penny is supposed to be: worthless, unimportant, the lowest form of money. And yet, one of those very pennies, the 1992 close AM, now stands as one of the most valuable treasures on the planet. Do you understand the lesson in that? Something as small as a penny, something designed to be ignored, something created by accident, turned into a miracle. It was not supposed to be special. It was not supposed to be noticed. And yet, because of a tiny detail, because the A and M in America were closer together than they should have been, the entire destiny of that coin changed. That is life. Sometimes, the smallest details decide the biggest outcomes. When we look at this story, it's not just about coins. It's about you. How many times in life have you felt like a penny? Small, overlooked, ignored by the world? How many times have you thought, "I don't matter, I'm just one among billions"? But the truth is, just like that 1992 penny, you may be carrying something within you that nobody else has. A rare detail, a unique story, a hidden talent, a spark that sets you apart. And if the right moment comes, that spark can make you priceless. The collectors who hunt for the 1992 penny aren't just searching for copper. They're searching for rarity, uniqueness, history. In the same way, the world is searching for people with rare gifts, with courage, with creativity. Maybe you are that person, but you haven't been discovered yet. Maybe you are the close AM in a sea of wide AMs. You might think you're ordinary, but one day, someone will see you for what you truly are. And here's another lesson. That coin didn't know its own value. For years, it probably passed through hands, dropped into registers, maybe even sat in someone's pocket, completely unnoticed. Imagine that. A $201 million treasure treated like it was worth a cent. That is exactly what happens to people. You may not even know your own worth right now. You may be treating yourself like you are worth 1 cent, when in reality, your true value is beyond imagination. All it takes is the right recognition, the right moment, the right discovery, and your entire story changes. That is why stories like this matter. They remind us that no one is truly ordinary. That value is not always visible on the surface. That mistakes can become miracles. And that destiny is not about where you start, but about how rare and true you are. So, the next time you hear someone talk about the 1992 close AM penny being worth $201 million, don't just think of it as a coin. Think of it as a message. If a penny, the lowest form of money, can become one of the most valuable objects in the world, then what excuse do you have for doubting yourself? If a coin can rise from obscurity to immortality, why can't you? You are someone's close AM. You are the rare find in the world's pocket change. You are the story waiting to be discovered, the legend waiting to be told, the masterpiece hidden in plain sight. And maybe, just maybe, the only thing standing between you and your true value is the courage to believe that you are worth more than the world thinks you are. And now, as we reach the end of this incredible journey, let's pause for a moment and truly absorb what we've uncovered together. We began with nothing more than a coin, a single penny, the smallest unit of American currency, a piece of copper that most people would toss into a drawer or leave behind at the checkout counter. And yet, through accident, through fate, through the powerful force of human obsession, that penny transformed into something unimaginable. From 1 cent to $201 million. From a mistake to a masterpiece. From ordinary to immortal. Think about what that really means. It means that value is not fixed. Worth is not always obvious. Even the humblest things can rise to greatness when the world finally sees them for what they truly are. The 1992 close AM penny is proof that destiny can hide in plain sight, waiting for the right pair of eyes to recognize it. It has become more than money. It has become a legend. A story passed down from collectors to dreamers, from investors to ordinary people who look into their change jars with a flicker of hope. It is a reminder that history is not always made by kings or armies. Sometimes it is made by a tiny detail, a misaligned design, a single coin. And beyond its market value, beyond the auctions and the headlines, the real treasure of the 1992 close AM is the lesson it carries for all of us. That nothing in life is too small to matter. That greatness can come from anywhere, even from mistakes. That we, like that penny, may not know our true value until the right moment arrives. For the collector, it is the ultimate prize. For the investor, it is the ultimate asset. For the storyteller, it is the ultimate symbol. And for the dreamer, it is proof that miracles are real. So tonight, as you think about this story, maybe you'll glance at the coins in your pocket with a little more wonder. Maybe you'll realize that the ordinary things around you may not be so ordinary after all. Maybe you'll see yourself differently, not as common, not as overlooked, but as someone rare, someone valuable, someone destined for more. Because if a penny can be worth $201 million, then who knows what hidden treasures are waiting in your life? Who knows what small choices, what hidden details, what unexpected mistakes might turn into the turning point of your destiny? The 1992 Close AM penny is more than history, more than copper, more than money. It is a reminder of what is possible. It is a symbol of hope, of rarity, of greatness born from the unexpected. And that is why, long after its market value rises and falls, long after the headlines fade, the story of this little penny will live forever. Immortal, eternal. A 1-cent coin that taught the world that nothing is too small to change everything. And maybe, just maybe, that lesson was worth far more than $201 million.